Muse and Mint by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Dedication. To my dear mother and wife, who best loved my muse, and whose love was the mint that ever made it an inspiration and joy. Muse and Mint. I mused upon the strangeness of all things, so different from the dream whereof the morning mounted up on wings, above the world agleam, with light that trembled into life and love, as when a censer swings and joy of promise sings. The dream whereof, the gleam above, the world is love. O bitterness to muse, and neither find the beauty of the muse, nor yet the music which the soul divined, ere set the rosy hues in sombre lines that disenchant and fret the heart with growing grief, which struggles for relief. O muse, but let my spirit yet the rue forget. As if to answer me a little child, to whom the sunshine's glint was gloom forever, on the corner smiled, and vended sprigs of mint, as though there were in blindness still a bloom and fragrance which could reach the passer-by and teach, in glint or gloom there's mint in bloom, through earth's perfume. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Poems of Nature. Fireflies by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. The murky night hung dank and dark, the summer shower after. A distant dog's staccato bark disturbed the stroller's laughter. The mournful whip-poor will's lament, the frogs and crickets' chorus, a weird sepulchral feeling lent to meadow lot and morass. 1,000 insect lanterns flashed their phosphorescent signals of living sparks that dot and dashed out swift electric riddles. For scarcely was the eye upon a single tiny glow light, when wing it flitted and was gone, like prankish imp on show night. And while we guessed its next surprise, afar from where it dwindled, a myriad others to the eyes, all intercrossed and kindled, until the ghostly gloom became illumed with manoeuvres, as though a fairy's fanning flame within a park of lovers. And thus does fancy people night with fugitive creations of phantom folk, whose fitful flight yet feeds our inspirations, and teaches us there is no dark, but fellowships the presence of every soul that sheds its spark of humble incandescence. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Bo-Peep by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Amazing Space 48. Everywhere I ramble in the Ides of May, through the boughs and bramble the wood nymphs play, where the sunshine dapples shadows all a-creep, beneath the budding apples dances Bo-Peep. Over where the mosses make a coverlet which the spring embosses with a green fret, from the long hibernal dreaminess of sleep, wakes with dimples vernal little Bo-Peep. Violets and bluets mischievously peek, monks like pygmy druids play at hide and seek, or each stump a picket spies with cunning deep, and in every thicket beckons Bo-Peep. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Peep-of-Dawn by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. The tally-ho of slumbers on, the last relay of dreams. Post haste! It rides with ribbons drawn, o'er curvetting grey teams. The wayside house just left behind was where the cock crew in. The road ahead with roses lined, and known as work to win. Intoxicated senses sink in visions of delight, and Venus's eye begins to wink where it outrides the night. Sly fingers lift the window shades, but ere espy dog on, and on the drowsy milking maids tiptoes the peep of dawn. Dame Nature in abandon lies, with skirts in disarray, and overtaken with surprise is kissed by stealthy day. The coverts rub their eyes and wake, and dreaming love anon goes forth on rosy road to make a tryst with peep of dawn. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Rilly River by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. The cold and turbid flood of spring has melted to the summer shallow, and now the vivid greeneries cling along the margin lush and fallow, and where were sombre deeps and chills are silver trills of rippling rills. The loiterer upon the bridge, which o'er the eddying river poises, salutes the island's sandy ridge that reappears. The eye rejoices in all the old familiar frills and saucy spills of rippling rills. The rod and reel the rapture feel, and from the boat take finny chances, but less for luck than with the keel to be a part of runic dances. For thus the river's music thrills, like joy that fills the rippling rills. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Cherries by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. Cherries, cherries, cherries! The robins are excited and delighted to change the fare at last, for 'twas bugs and grubs and slugs over 2 months past. Now it's cherries till the berries ripen full and fast. Cherries, cherries, cherries! The robins are excited and affrighted. There's a man up the tree in a big wig and rig that would scare a chickadee. But a robin, see him bobbing in a solemn colloquy. Cherries, cherries, cherries! The scarecrow is indicted and requited with a pocket full of eggs, baby blue with 'em too. Getting ready bill and legs for the summer that's a comer, when the cherry season begs. Cherries, cherries, cherries! The robins are excited and delighted. Not the red breast, but the kind that eclipse with cherry lips, and are not a whit behind. Robin Jerry's stealing cherries when the dummy's but a blind. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Snowflake by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Carrie Adams, your book voice. Million-needled star of hoar, parachuting little kite, sailing by my cottage door, flurried, jostled, fairy light. Whither, whither, whence and why comest thou of crystal, from the welkin hasting by, like a lost epistle? Softly did the snowflake sigh, read me as I rest awhile. So I read the whence and why, for the snowflake is a smile. Melting heaven dew congealed, lest we miss its beauty, love and miracle revealed on the wings of duty. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Blizzard by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. The whited pumice of the storm is over house and hill, or drifted into shroud-like form about the ruined mill. The fences hide beneath the drifts, the snowy terraces ascend to where the hemlock lifts its virgin-broidered dress. The trackless highway challenges the sweltered caravan of traffic, and in fastnesses of chalk imprisons man. The wind-wolves howl at cottage door, or down the chimney leap. The windows are all rimed with ore where frozen fingers creep. The house frame groans at blast and frost, like quarry of the pack o'ertaken, but though torn and tossed, still stout of heart and back. Still stout of heart, like us secure by ruddy fire warm, too humbly thankful to be poor while sheltered from the storm. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sugaring Off by Walter Seymour Percy, read for LibriVox.org by Carrie Adams, your book voice. Essence of all that's sweet, what joy to watch thy amber flow, and sip thy nectar till it cloy, or waxen it on snow. What joy to watch the trickling veins of our old maple friend, and know the vernal Odin reigns, as heir of winter's end. Drink to the earnest of the spring, the ichor of the bud, to all the rising hopes that sing of life and loverhood. Drink to the sweetness in thee hid, by softer airs distilled. Let nature sugar off and bid her kindlier cup be filled. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Chrysalis by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Carrie Adams, your book voice. Come out of your winter shell, old grub, of horns and crusty twist, and with your fellows' elbows rub, more like a humanist. A spiral armors very well for its eccentric curve, but not a gloomy hermit cell of cynical reserve. Come out of your winter shell, old slug, of dormant sense and soul. You're far too round and hard and smug, your summer self unroll, and show you've got some nature left that sprouts an airy wing. The man of humus is bereft who can't respond to spring. Come out of your winter shell, old worm, of wrapped-up gossamer, if you would burst your scaly derm and let the spirit stir. For after all, for better things a man created is, than lying with imprisoned wings, a half-dead chrysalis. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
When I Survey by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Daniel William Bader. When I survey. 'Tis midnight, and I am in the country. The world is still, and all the lights are out, save for the ones which stud the firmament, with diamond clusters everywhere about. Like royal David pondering the heaven, I stand uncovered, torn and battle spent. and from my flocking meditations driven by spectral bears and lions. But not as he, victorious, for the raveners I smote were modern pride and doubt which stalked my faith for its ewe lamb of trust, and by the throat dragged it away from me to bleating death. My staff is broken, and the scroll I read 1,000 nights like this crumpled where I flung it as with fevered brow I fled, in mocking disillusion and despair, from burnt-out wicks still sputtering in the oil of self-illumination with the quiz, what am I? What the infinite I am? God. If the answer were in spirit toil, or as the echo of whatever is. The stars smile down on me, undimmed and calm, my soul. Have I so many years been blind to all the glories wheeling o'er my head, and starry with the challenge of my quest? Orion jewel-girded and behind, coursing dogs in mighty combat strange, with red-eyed Taurus, and the charioteer flashing toward the goal in full career, the thrice-immortal twins, the chase abreast, cheering the long race, but keeping out of range of Ursa's long, lean paws, where his huge frame looms in the polar circle. Farther south, the lion's crouching form, with gleaming eyes and shadowy mouth, the plowman of the skies, proud of Arcturus' fame, and Hercules, setting his giant heel upon the fang of the unwieldy dragon, while beyond the serpent's crown makes mockery of the deed. Far over by a handful of degrees, imperial Vega rides the horizon, harped on by Lyra, as when morning sang the genesis of systems God decreed. Already shines afar the northern cross, where else were only dreariness and dark, like flaming symbol of a holy cause which bore its ensign up the winter arc, and more divinely glowed with sacred fire than the tiara'd lady of the chair, with dazzling looks, or than her daughter whom impetuous Perseus, thinking her so fair, delivered by the right of passion from the beast with jaws of grossness open wide. Nor would I miss the eagle Argus-eyed, and swift on wings of night. What? Call this night? With thousand suns in timeless space, so vast that distance gives no parallax, and centuries untold would pass ere light from the remotest wanderer could burn? So vast yon fires are 100-fold, more luminous than ours to them in turn, and it in lost direction would dissolve from Earth's own lodestar, here yclept the pole. So vast that hosts so numberless revolve, in unison as no assembled whole of man's most perfect mechanism moves, yet by the which he boasts perpetual noon, as though the elements he laid improves, and plays them in a more triumphant tune. What? Call this night and our small dial day, because by it we see ourselves, and then as mere automatons? Such is the way of overconscious men. Why, even I an hour since called light a flickering lamp. Philosophy the palimpsest of pedants. The universe a papier-mâché script, while on it egotism's ink was still too damp and speculation dripped. But as I mount the great highway of pearl, which turns to diamonds where its steeds strike hoof, and chariot wheels o'er the arena whirl, until the course is flashing flint and fire, how my soul thrills with this real vision of the truth no lips can utter, with desire to feel, not name, the Maker. Night is day, to eyes which earth's diurnal sun had blinded, but now see glory, majesty, design, love, eternal-minded, will divine, swinging out censers, filling space with throne rooms, ordering the times of destiny, making music and revealing purpose perfect but unthinkable, yet in man, tuning a chord of nature in response to fugitive notes of a melodious plan. To stray scintillas of a master spell, that we might have sufficient just of sense, to throb with feeling of theophany, just awe enough of the ineffable, out of our pinpoint nothingness to cry, what is man that thou art mindful of him? And what is he that he should give a name, which we with lips vainglorious can laud, a shape of person to the great I Am, before we deign to worship him as God. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Paupack by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Daniel William Bader. Paupack. Whither waters gently flowing in thy rocky channel race, yet anon more noisy growing o'er the stones which stay thy pace, gentle waters, whither going? Laughing louder as they hurried, making music as they ran, deeper still the rock they furrowed, and a stolen run began, half in cliffs and chasms buried. Through the narrows flung they churning, leaped they in a mad cascade, and a bedded boulder spurning, they a misty iris made, spray to fitful spectrum turning. Wildling waters thus romancing through the gorge in joy's career, wooded witchery enhancing, Paupack picturesque and dear, haste thee onward, ever dancing. Let thy pilgrimage and laughter quicken an Algonquin vein, till the lure I follow after flushes every sense again, like the freshet of the water. Till, O Paupack, each erosion of my nature is at flood, with a primitive emotion, with an impulse of the blood, singing on towards the ocean. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Poems of Fireside by Walter Seymour Percy, read for LibriVox.org by Daniel William Bader. Mother. Only one link is to us all, a never-failing bond. Only one thought of time's recall makes all the world respond. Dear ties there are that knit us close as parent, friend, or brother, but God a universal chose in the dear name of mother. Only one face no stranger is, sometimes at every side. Only one love whose holy kiss too few has been denied. And whether we it treasure up or its affection smother, yet still the world's communion cup is the dear name of mother. Only one touch of nature makes us feel alike at best. Only one gift for our sakes outbalances the rest. And whether good or evil, we are human to each other, when our most sacred memory is the dear name of mother. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Miss Chatterbox by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by April 6090. Miss Chatterbox, come here and tell me all about the fairies' spell. So new to you but strange to me, till you revive its mystery. I, too, delight in summer bowers, but you bewitch the birds and flowers. I, too, rejoice in sunny nooks, but you make music of the brooks. Miss Chatterbox, the secret share of all the magic of the air. How comes the woodland's passing breeze to be the whisper of the trees? How come the echoes through their screen to be the pranks of elves unseen? The bushy tails and bead-like eyes, the wizard and the Cupid spies? Miss Chatterbox, the riddle read of yonder fence-side hearts that bled, off yonder riot in the field, where buttercups to daisies yield, where drowsy sprites sip clover sweets, and bobolink with Cupid meets, where brownies over on the knoll the puffballs of the pasture roll. Miss Chatterbox, how happens it that you in all this witchcraft fit, that in your feet the fairies dance, and from your eyes the sun-sprites glance, that in your curls are elfin kinks, and in your cheek a Cupid winks? The wood-nymphs clap their hands with thine, and thou art nature's countersign? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Little Stocking by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by kaylawhy. Cunningly, patiently I knit you, little stocking, counting the stitches the while. Lovingly in thought I fit you while rocking, back and forth, with a smile. On the baby feet I kiss, or in slumber absent miss, dreams flocking, little stocking, like this. Skillfully, wistfully I weave you, interlocking, the strands in and out and around. Tenderly in mind I leave you, little stocking, as the woolen threads unwound, and I think of baby feet you will cover when complete, half mocking, little stocking, so sweet. Artfully I toe and heel you, little stocking, clicking the needle's ends. Fondly I fashion and feel you, heart a-talking. As the tapering fabric spends, Will the baby feet be true to the dreams I wove in you? Little stocking, adieu. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Elfin Faces by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Lawley. Elfin Faces. Round me gather rosy cheeks, clean and fresh as peaches, smiling daughters of the Greeks, golden-tongued with speeches. Papa, tell your little girls all about the fairies. Bless my soul, they all had curls and cupid lips like cherries. Yes, indeed, and starry eyes and merry little dimples, something like a sly surprise hid in cunning wimples. Yes, and twinkling baby feet dancing midst the flowers, gathering the honey sweet through the morning hours. But at twilight is the time each becomes a brownie, murmuring a sleepy rhyme, growing soft and downy, till, say, I declare there springs up from either shoulder fluffy little angel wings that at first enfold her. Then I have to rub my eyes, all alert and scary, for right out of the window flies every single fairy. And I'm left there all alone, peering in the corners. Little elfin faces gone, leave behind them mourners. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Sweet Steen by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Lawley. Sweet Steen, little outgrown pinafore, hanging there behind the door, seldom seen, sprigged all over full of buds, like the yesterdays whose suds only partly washed you out. What do you mean by reviving such a time, like a phantom put to rout, till it runs to ruined rhyme? Ah, 'tis sad to think of it, Missy, that you used to fit, till between top and bottom was a glance, now is wearing stars of France. For alas, she's grown to be sweet 16, with young ladyship's conceit and its sprouting vanity, 16, pinafore and sweet. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Boy by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Amazing Space 48. Boy, thou art the work of ages, disporting by creation's glades and streams, laughing at the sages, and filling all the pages of time eternal with thy hopes and dreams. Boy, thou art the work of nature, commingling of earth and air and fire, in consciousness and feature, a juvenescent creature, with active mind and limbs that never tire. Boy, thou art the work of gladness, and meant to fill the world with lusty shout, with laughter, not with sadness, with goodness, not with badness, with eager confidence, and not with doubt. Boy, thou art the work of heaven, a thought to give the world a bonny air, a living joyous leaven, a spirit nobly driven, to try the future and divinely dare. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Child's Lifted Cross by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Kay Burke. A Child's Lifted Cross. How are we taught by childhood's simple plea, our greatest need and poor deformity, when such a child each vesper hour could pray, Lord, make me well, and take my cross away, that I may share in joy and love return, that I may live to labor and to learn, and that tomorrow may redeem today. Lord, make me well, and take my cross away. The help came down not as the cry went up, not as the thirst, the giving of the cup. Poor little one, if only we could say, God made him well, and took his cross away. 'Tis thus we bring our own distorting grief to our beloved physician for relief, and as our burdens at thy feet we lay, Lord, say 'tis well, and take our cross away. Thus, too, we bring our sin-misshapen soul to our great healer who can make us whole, and there beside his cross, not ours, we pray, Lord, make me well, and take my sins away. Ah, time may hold surcease from pain and care. Who knows what is the answering of prayer, or why the potter breaks the faulty clay? Lord, make us beautiful in thine own way. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Boy Millionaire by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Lakshmi. Boy, I'm worth 100 million and I'm 60 seasons old. But you're worth about 1 billion and another kind of gold. I have the money. You have the treasure. You have the future. I have the past. I have the power. You have the pleasure. Mine is fleeting. Yours will last. When you whistle through the clover, capturing the bumblebee, when the brook is running over and the trout line craftily feels the eddy, who can offer you a kingdom more divine? I have an overflowing coffer, but would trade it all for thine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Lullaby by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org. Little birdie, fold thy wings, snuggle in thy nest, while the wind thy cradle swings. Baby birdie, rest. Oh, so wee and warm and near to thy mamma's breast. Oh, so free from harm and fear. Go to rest, go to rest. Little flower, hide thy face, for 'tis eventide, in the sleepy night's embrace. Little flower, hide. Oh, so wee and fair and still, on thy mamma's breast. Oh, so free from care and ill. Be at rest, be at rest. Little baby, close thine eyes. Fairies come for thee from the land of lullabies, where my baby'll be, oh, so blissful while she sleeps on her mamma's breast. And I kiss her smiling lips. She's at rest, she's at rest. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Last Song by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Lakshmi. Just one more little song, mother, before I go to sleep, for thou hast often hushed my heart to slumber soft and deep. Before it's dark, I long, mother, for thy dear voice which seems to make thy gentle face a part of childhood's golden dreams. Just one more little song, mother, before I sink to rest, for thou hast often stilled my fears upon thy tender breast. Thy love so great was strong, mother, with childhood's safe repose, on lips that kissed away its tears, in arms that held it close. Just one more little song, mother, before I dream of skies where stars and flowers smile and shine, and angel harps surprise. But not in heaven's throng, mother, is there a dearer face, a sweeter song or so than thine, the glory land to grace. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Youth by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. A vision of morning, a sparkle of dew, with roses adorning life's pilgrimage through. All joy and no sorrow, no trouble to borrow, an endless tomorrow, and love ever true. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Age by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. To sit in the gloaming and muse by the fire, till the spirit of homing takes wings of desire, and the might-have-beens lighten, and the things to be brighten, and the heavenlies heighten, and the holies inspire. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Poems of Sentiment. A Coronation by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Cade Elder. Dear, on thy brow I set a crown, invisible yet rare, not jeweled gold which burdens down with royalty and care. I bring thee nothing but my love and what my hands can win, and yet I crown thee, dear, above a kingdom's proudest queen. I kiss each gleaming tress of thine coiled lightly round thy head, and woman's glory grows divine with love's aurora shed. If thou canst but forget the rest, the gems I cannot bring, this jewel doth become thee best, to me, thy lover king. Dear, in my soul thou hast a throne, all white and heaven gold, and on thy brow I set a crown that doth my heart enfold. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I'll Be Watching on the Shore by Walter Seymour Percy. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Kevin Bryden. She kissed me when we parted, I to sail the stormy main, she to keep the little cottage snug until I come again. And well do I remember what she promised o'er and o'er. When you come sailing from the ocean, I'll be watching on the shore. So I was a jolly skipper, coiling rope or reefing sail. Many a distant port I entered, many a homebound ship did hail. If I sent or got a message, always it the promise bore. When you come sailing from the ocean, I'll be watching on the shore. Death came yawning in the tempest, wild and high the spindrift flew, and from dizzy deck and masthead oft I thought my hour was due, till her dear prophetic promise sang above the billows' roar. When you come sailing from the ocean, I'll be watching on the shore. But alas, one time I harboured, she was sleeping white and still, where the ivy made a trellis of the lookout on the hill, and the cold engraven marble yet the farewell promise bore. When you come sailing from the ocean, I'll be watching on the shore. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Give Thee My Promise by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Cade Elder. I give thee my promise, sweetheart, with thy dear lips to mine, that nothing shall keep from us the sealing of this sign. As o'er the world I wander, by hope of fortune sped, my heart will grow the fonder for thy promise to me wed. I give thee the token, sweetheart, whose circle on thy hand, God grant, may ne'er be broken, however far the land. For where it pleaseth heaven to lead my errant feet, this little token given will keep the promise sweet. I give thee the keeping, sweetheart, for my own heart that pleads for love's immediate reaping, and with the parting bleeds. But I with arms that hold thee must labor for thee too, and so I fast enfold thee, and bid thee, love, adieu. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Chamber Roses by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibraryVox.org by Amazing Space 48. Over in Dolorosa Hall, romantic memories breathing, there's a quaint old room with flowered wall of roses interweaving. The key on golden chain I wear to guard the sacred chamber, for as a bride demure and fair my sainted Mary came there. 'Twas her dear self arranged it so and helped to match the roses, as she, alas, the ones which grow o'er walls where she reposes. I nurture these, the others seal for subtler necromancy, where Mary's loving roses steal around the room of fancy. They ramble from each corner to the border or the moulding, and on in buds and tendrils through the ceiling's faded golding. No hand shall ever tear them down with cheap artistic violence, for Mary wreathed the roses on, still fragrant with her silence. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Two Frames by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Kevin Bryden. In the gallery of remembrance down on Unforgotten Street hangs a picture of two lovers after they the vows repeat. Lovely, handsome picture lovers, golden framed against the wall, love in rich and stately setting, revenue and manor hall. And beside it hangs another, limned again with lover's pose, just as lovely on the canvas till the golden in it glows, but 'tis framed in white enamel, whereon lilies intertwine, love in sweet and simple setting, virtue and a cottage vine. Love in woman stands before them with reflected gold and grace, but with struggling decision on her dew and flower face. Eyes are drawn to frame of yellow, heart to canvas set in white, Rich man, poor man, love in woman chose, and lilies turned to light. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Pars Sumé by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Kerry Adams, your book voice. I did not think that love was mine, because I toiled. But if I'd caught its every line, and not despoiled, more perfect love to grace my own, then might I feel that I, at love's supremest throne, could rightly kneel. I veiled my face when glory shed its trembling light, nor would I lift my humbled head till I, as white, could show the pureness of a soul that doth reveal love, which before the sacred whole can rightly kneel. My altar was her blessing place, whence she bestowed the gifts divinely of her grace on worship bowed. For as my adoration rose to love's ideal, she lifted me as one of those who rightly kneel. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Vision by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Kevin Bryden. Tall and fair and azure-eyed, covert glances 'neath the drooping lash, like Cupid's arrows in an artful quiver. She is this and much beside, which to tell in detail would be rash by any but the beggar to the giver. If I gathered, if she gave, I could put it better into art, by countless little charming things elated, silken tresses in a wave, cheek with stolen pigment from the heart, and mouth the most inviting e'er created. Still I'm short of total truth, just to feature forth her lovely face, wreathed in rebel-locked or coiffered limbus, yet the highest charm of youth is the soft inimitable grace that bathes a woman with a glowing nimbus. And this my goddess hath improved by every feminine instinct of taste, and still the deeper charm of spiritism, which, if it were the soul and loved some kindred soul in this world of love waste, would laugh at every selfish catechism of worldly wisdom and its creed, and tremble to the fate which love revealed, flushed at its glimpse of paradise, delirious that life was not all craft and greed, but underneath its shallows half concealed lay passion grand, transfiguring, imperious. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Aftermath by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Kevin Bryden. Lovers making foolish vows, thinking love is deathless, when 'tis fiercest to espouse, when it sings so breathless, now caressing, now confessing, in romantic stanza, such is passion and its fashion of extravaganza. But the love that's worth a throne is the kind that later more than sentiment alone proves an heavens greater than a frenzy of the fancy, or a creed of nature, or the praises in fine phrases of a charming creature. Oh, the happy aftermath when the mating's over, and ordeals of life and death teach the whilom lover that the woman, though for human charms he did enshrine her, is the essence of a presence sweeter and diviner. End of poem. This project is in the public domain.
Proof Words by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Amazing Space 48. There was a face, I loved it. There was a pulse, I felt it. There was a soul, I sensed it, and made it mine for aye. There was a heart, I proved it. There was a word, I spelt it, yet scarcely had commenced it when called from dreams away. There was a hope, I wreathed it. There was a prayer, I sped it. There was a seal, I gave it, then bade my love adieu. There was a sigh, I breathed it. There was a tear, I shed it. There was a gift, I save it, to know my love is true. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Poems of Memories. Adieus by Walter Seymour Percy, read for LibriVox.org by Carrie Adams, your book voice. When we from ship or shore bid farewell, oh, fare thee well, though the voyage may be o'er oceans vast, and none can tell whether we shall evermore meet again, yet fare thee well means a hope whose accents spell, till we greet again, farewell. When we over sea or land Godspeed wish, oh, speed thee, God. Him we trust with kindly hand, narrow though the way or broad. Sometime from the distant strand, back again to bring us shod, joyous o'er the way we trod. Hope is Godspeed, speed thee, God. When our parting word for e'er is goodbye, God's way be thine. Whether 'tis ourself who fare, or another we resign, yet committed to his care, and a future as benign, we await the proof divine. Hope's goodbye is God be thine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Dust to Dust by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Amazing Space 48. Earth to earth we sadly sigh. Beloved, beloved, why didst thou die? Heaven, why untimely death, when so sweet are life and breath? Earth and heaven, tell us why our beloved have to die? Dust to dust the elements swallow clay and sleeping sense. Wilt thou wake, beloved, yet to the eyes no longer wept? To the arms that no more ache, wilt thou, O beloved, wake? Ashes to ashes mingling, flesh they cover, tears they wring. Beloved, beloved, the flowers I bring wither, but the ones that spring o'er thy mould with promise smile. Dearest, yet a little while. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Little Words by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by April 6090. Speak but the little words of truth, and they shall live when thou hast ceased to be. The lips by trial daily put to proof breathe nothing sweeter than sincerity, helping thy brother to be true like thee. Speak but the little words of love, and they shall linger when the tongue is still. For whether there be thrones they shall remove, but love abideth all our thoughts to fill, and fashioneth remembrance as it will. Speak but the little words of hope, and they shall cheer the way when cometh night, to thee or others who in dark would grope, but for the courage of thy humble light. Fed by the oil of promise, all comes right. Speak but the little words of trust, and they shall rob the struggle of its cross, the heart of sorrow's bitterness, the dust of victory o'er our dead. For out of loss, trust sees eternal gain transform the dross. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Wayside Life by Walter Seymour Percy, read for LibriVox.org by Caden B. A little stream sprang from its distant source, and through the peopled valley with a song, it held its smiling uneventful course, grateful with cooling draught the whole year long, till they who daily drank of it grew strong. A little star shone softly in the night, and in the many-gloried heavenly host it shed a true and never-failing light, so that for constancy 'twas loved the most, because for lack of it no way was lost. A little coin was passed from hand to hand, and humbly served its mission day by day. In the life needs its value could command. Pure gold it was, though small in currency, and many a debt of want sufficed to pay. A humble life was lived where others felt its truth and worth to hand and lip and eye, and when 'twas spent its debtors mutely knelt to thank the giver for its ministry, the stream, the star, the coin they travelled by. The vanished life whose benison of grace was like the cup of water or the beam of friendly light, or as the gold whose base of humanness, though it might dull the gleam, yet perisheth and leaves its worth supreme. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. O Tear by Walter Seymour Percy, read for LibriVox.org by Caden B. O tear of grief from stricken spirit wrung by nature's requisition of our shrine, and best beloved, if sympathizing tongue can speak one word of hope or comfort kind, by heaven approved, drop thou upon it like a jeweled sphere, whose trembling iris makes it lovelier. By such a heaven-inspired word, O tear of human sorrow, thou art made to be divinely thrilled with comforting more dear than helpless love or hopeless sympathy. For thou art filled with visions now of soul's supreme sphere, like thine but infinite in love, O tear. Thou art too blurred and blinding now to let thine eye behold the beauty of the light that glimmers through thy grief, but thou wilt yet, if pleaseth God, with faith anointed sight and love anew, dissolve in joy, and for the sepulchre, glad that which makes its victory, O tear. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Dew of Dust by Walter Seymour Percy, read for LibriVox.org by Caden B. O dead of earth, rejoice! The flowers from the dust by vernal dews arise, and smile reviving trust, when from their wintry tomb they wake, and into summer beauty break. And so shall sleeping be within our fleshly tomb. The Easter side shall free the life that lieth numb, and from the dust shall rise anew the deathless bloom of spring and dew. Say not to ashes turns our being with its shell, for a divineness burns by death unquenchable, to warm the poor chill mould whereof, and our undying nature prove. If not another grace shall clothe our soul's desire, let not the grave efface what in us doth aspire. So shall we nobler be than clay, and give a truth to life for aye. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Smile by Walter Seymour Percy, read for LibriVox.org by Caden B. As from the window pane a light doth gleam, to cheer the traveller at eventide, so was her smile the ever-friendly beam, that lit the way or bade the guest abide. She knew no cross or care but what was eased, by smiling trust that everything was best. When all around were happy she was pleased, when she could make them happy she was blessed. We knew who loved her best, the sweetness of her always gentle look and Christian grace. She filled the home with precious mother love, and no one else can fill her sacred place. Hers was the smile that shone in sun and storm, in ministry to others or when they looked to her out of trouble, and the charm of such serenity drove doubt away. She smiled in life, and then the miracle of soul, untroubled triumph to the end. She smiles in death to comfort us. 'Tis well! to let us know that she hath found a friend. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Poems of Philosophy. The Hilltops by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Christian Aboko. There are cloudy sullen skies, but what of that? There are discontented eyes, but what of that? When the day is gloomiest, over the hilltops west, there is sunshine, brother best. Think of that. There are dour looks enough, but what of that? Tasks forbidding, hard and rough, but what of that? Though the veil the weather spoils, on the hilltops there are miles of old souls and conquered smiles. What of that? Living in the valley long, maybe that quenched the laughter and the song. But for that, hearts might look to higher hills, kissed by sun and full of rills, smiling over cares and ills. Think of that. End of poem. This recording is public domain.
The Man Who Bears the Hod by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Go, mould and burn the clay to brick, with all the skill of ages. It took the shovel and the pick, before it took the sages. But leaving that to honours past, for things which men applaud, who is it makes the pile so vast, an edifice to rise and last? The man who bears the hod. The potter and the architect may shape and plan the temple, the master builders may erect, ennoble or assemble. But leaving that to future fame, for things we rarely laud, who is it carries up the frame, on shoulders called in lieu of name? The man who bears the hod. The dreamer and the statesman may inspired be with genius, and in the oven put the clay that rears renown between us. But who must heap the bricks they mould on backs and bases broad, toil up the scaffolds and uphold the towers growing high and bold? The man who bears the hod. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Jog Along by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org. Jog along, jog along. The day is young, the goal's ahead. The limbs are strong and hope is fed on promises where'er you look, of nodding bud and laughing brook. Cheer up, while there's a song of bird or smile of sunny nook. There's love and bread, so jog along. Jog along, jog along. 'Tis only noon, and there's an inn where you may soon an hour win of humble fellowship and fare, a luxury of life too rare. Hail, friend well met, who in the throng is brotherly in spite of care. There's human kin, so jog along. Jog along, jog along. The sun goes down, but twilight still, to reach the town upon the hill. And there the sun's an hour high, to give thee grace of foot and eye. Keep on, with dauntless will. You've still the promise of the sky, the stars until, so jog along. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Family Tree by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Your genealogy may be the finest thing on earth, or merely a decadent tree of past descent and worth. The children of the Puritans should have the pilgrims' souls, or else an alien wire spans your insulated poles. An aristocracy of breed is that which keeps the stamp of spirit from heroic deed in patriot hall or camp. The veins whose life blood flows for home, or right, or liberty, should be the same from which they come to keep the nation free. To find in our ancestral line a sire of noble blood puts on us truth to make the sign of our escutcheon good. Colonial forebears condemn like ghosts from hollow bowls, unless we reincarnate them without their shrouds and stoles. To be well born a century back, a century of fruit, a century the soil to pack about the ancient root, is such a heritage we well may trace it to its source, for all from which its scions swell, its vital ichor's course. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Replevin by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Who can replevin all his own from his platonic debtors, from plagiarists perchance unknown, who steal his thoughts or letters? His property is small or great, as it is worth the using, and such a tribute to his rate makes property worth losing. To say or do a thing that's fine, which makes the world the wiser, should be a royalty divine to any but a miser. Their pound of flesh let Shylock sue, and bank in figures 7. Our noblest own is what is due in goods beyond replevin. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Homilies. What is Truth? By Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Truth is the vision of the skies that does not ask us to be wise, but just to lift perceiving eyes wherever there is living light, to clearer make the way of right, or soiled humanity more white. Truth is the meaning of all things, not to the mind, but to the springs of love and peace and fashionings. For what we love is life's concern, and hope is more than sages learn, and truth is most to which we turn. Truth is the spirit of all truths, which from the same supremeness moves, and universal purpose proves. Truth is the light and not the spheres, whose laws are known to only seers, but by the stars the sailor steers. Truth is the image of its God, who all its endless vistas trod, and flung his attributes abroad. For while too rare to minds more dense, its mirror makes it real to sense, and gives its soul an evidence. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Friendship by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. O friendship, on life's crown the pearl, amidst its jewels rare, a star for peasant or for earl, the other gems whate'er, be diamond on the kingly brow, or garnet dull on toil, the hearted radiance art thou of noblest might or moil. But ah, to only value thee as treasure of desire, for peerlessness of purity we gain to but admire, and not to feel thy inner worth as stuff of primal deeps, some miracle of troubled birth where lowly nature creeps. Is this, O friendship, worthy of the praises of the Muse, of life so lightly prone to love, but fire to refuse? If only in our hand we hold another's sacrifice, and give it back no gift of gold, 'tis not the pearl of price.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Thought by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Think nobly, for the things we ponder are the sum of what we treasure, and we do become the fashion of our thinking, just as from the chain we know the linking. Therefore think nobly, think purely, for our meditation is the glass through which our spirit doth in vision pass, the face of God beholding, and the grace of his divine unfolding. Therefore think purely, think truly, for a true ideal is the light by which we struggle up the lofty height of truth's supreme divineness, and the right to which it doth incline us. Therefore think truly.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
When I'm No More by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Will yonder orient flush with morning hue? Will on the flowers shine the crystal dew? And heaven retain its soft cerulean blue when I'm no more? Will yet the jasper ocean lap the beach and woo the wild flower just beyond its reach? Will yet the tree birds murmur each to each when I'm no more? Will yet the laughing brook keep on its way? Will yet yon moon smile sadly o'er my clay, and those bright twinkling stars dance in the day when I'm no more? Will yet a smiling world salute the dawn, and still its course of love and joy flow on? My image once some heart enshrined soon gone, when I'm no more? What means this chill misgiving, fate or fear? Death, rend the veil and calm this dark despair. Say, tell me, will this memory be dear when I'm no more? Ah, Death, thy only kindness is the bliss of answer in love's fondest parting kiss. That one at least my humbleness will miss when I'm no more. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Blazed Trail by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by April 6090. Life is a human wilderness, where duty, right, and truth are tangled in the morasses of folly, doubt, and youth. I know I cannot hope to cleave a path through brake and swale, but I a guiding index leave if I but blaze the trail. The forest, as I struggle through, by compass, sun, and stars, all marked so that another, too, can travel by my scars. From woods where labor would get lost, and feet would err or fail, I'll single pines on ridges crossed, and blaze on them the trail. O'er range and river toward the west, I'll keep and pray to learn, not what is easiest, but best, and worth a life's return. For though I shall not pass again the way I thus prevail, it is my task for other men to blaze the homebound trail. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Grief and Joy by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Kevin Bryden. Grief said there was no gladness at the season of the child, but only memories of sadness in homes where babes once smiled. Joy said there was no sorrow, but found solace in the touch of gladness that perhaps tomorrow would need our cheer as much. Grief said that songs awaken echoes from our buried love, as when silent chords are shaken and still responsive prove. Joy said it yet were stranger if our babes made Bethlehem, not more dear because the manger bore him who gathered them. Grief said that gifts but mocked us with the treasures snatched away, and with chains forever locked us in tombs of memory. Joy said that gifts were token of our love and its domain, earnest of our hopes unspoken, love would get again. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hope by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. I have a hope, 'tis spirit-born and spirit-winged beside. 'Tis like the holy light of morn when heaven opens wide. Hope like the bird whose every note a loving Father's hand hath turned within its swelling throat, as though the song were planned. What is it but the joyous sense of love and harmony? What is it but the evidence of life's divinity? That hope which makes us most divine, and like to what it clings, that hope which makes our hearts incline to higher, holier things. That hope which spells eternal youth and goodness infinite, hath reason in it strong as truth and logical as light. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sowing and Reaping by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Carrie Adams. Your book voice. Sow on, though another age may do the reaping. Sow on, for the final wage is in the keeping of our divinest Master, who declared, sow on, for he shall reap not who hath spared. Reap on what another age began by sowing. Reap on, for the highest wage is in the knowing. The fruit is garnered, and the harvest song to sower and to reaper doth belong. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hope On by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Hope on, for there is no rising star when shadows creep across our sky, more precious than this beam afar that trembles through eternity. Hope on, that infinite desire is but a foreglimpse of the dawn of an immortal, holier and higher day of perfection. Therefore hope on. Hope on, lest the heart be cankered by its own sense of dumb despair. But rather let the soul be anchored to the veiled heaven over there, where the light trembles through the mist, and hope becomes more lucid faith. Yea, glad expectancy. For lo, the Christ bids life unfold its wings, and death and doubt be gone. Therefore hope on. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Hearted Good by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Blessed be the goodness which is spirit fruit of reverence as worship is of awe, till goodness is both ripening and root. For just as truly as that it doth draw its substance from divineness, it must shoot by the same potency of nature's law. We may dispense the good we never grew, as those who borrow, or we may profess the goodness which we know but never do, and so put on a form of fruitfulness. But 'tis barren-hearted and untrue to worthiness, whate'er its outward dress. To love as well as practice what is fine, to be what we would fain be taken for, to ripen from the root whose tendrils twine around the very heart whose currents pour into the good we do. This is divine and living fruit that blesses more and more. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
America by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Poems of Country. America. Divided by the oceans vast from other dear and shining strands, the wonder of the storied past confesses this the land of lands, the refuge of the fair and brave, when freedom was denied her due. Sing with the wild wide ocean wave, America the true. Dear was the boon the pilgrims sought amid the red man's forest wild, and dearly too the lesson taught by this sweet freedom's native child, which yet once learned forget no more. O air of that love liberty, breathe with the spirit of thy shore, America the free. Her stars and stripes that proudly float so many citied states above, shall we forget that they denote the oneness of a common love? Sweet token to the patriot, o'er all their territories wide, float to this one inspiring thought, America our pride. And still a fuller swell thy veins, and crimsoner thy throbbing blood, be virtue in thy broad domains, the God of nations be thy God. The echo of thy forest days still mingle with thy voiceful sea, or linger in the poet's praise, America the free. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Altar of Country by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. O country of my altar, where the incense flame doth burn, and a priestly hand doth part the temple veil, let me ne'er in purpose falter, let me never from thee turn, nor the vision of the holy ever fail. O my country, till I learn how to purpose not to palter, let the vision of the holy never pale. O altar of my country, sealed with bloody sacrifice, yet glorious with living triumph too, may I nobly offer on thee duty's most devoted price, never doubting it to be thy sacred due. From thy altar let me rise, all to offer, O my country, that I treasure most supreme and true. From Greatheart. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Stars of Destiny by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. The midnight stars wheel in their course through trackless vasts of space, and every distant sun's a source of motions taking place beyond the reach of eye or thought, yet part of heaven's design, in order infinitely wrought by majesty divine. We cannot know the perfect plan in such a universe, nor what its horoscope for man, be it for good or worse. Enough, the same law rules the stars and human destinies, and man the future makes or mars as he observeth these. As he the lesson of the past applies to issues new, and makes experience forecast the fate which cometh true, because it is the truth, and moves, though oft in courses strange, and like the time eternal proves, the stars that never change. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Last of the Grand Army by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. There they come with feeble step, there they come with lessened rank, and yet pathetic with the martial air and ancient discipline of field and camp. There they come with sounding pipe, there they come with armour clank. The dimming uniforms parade each year, and ensigns flaunting, tramp, tramp, tramp. Thus they pass in broken corps, thus they pass in mounted troop, across the square in valour's proud review, beneath the victor's green triumphal arch. Heads with many a winter hoar, upright shoulders now a-stoop, their once imperial numbers grown so few, but bravely onward, march, march, march. Many a soldier's vacant place, many an officer's blank post, and many a veteran too with touching zeal to mend the losses hobbling along. Many a scarred and figured face, many a luckless member lost, with silent eloquence the tale reveal of desperate battles, on, on. By gratitude's tall monuments, by private cemetery tombs, where floral wreaths from loving hands lie mute, upon each honoured grave for memory's sight, bowing heads in reverence, treading slow with muffled drums, with tear-dimmed eye and sorrowful salute, and lower standard, right, left, right. Every footfall of the past, every annual elapse, the silent hearts and silent years no more, half echo mingle in that ghostly tread, and seem to swell the muster vast, and seem to say with hollow steps, from all that mighty vanguard gone before, to this small rearguard, dead, dead, dead. A few more years of bivouac here, a few more years of sepulture, in trench or dungeon, grave or moaning deep, a few more years of death's soft slumbering night, till all that spectral host appear before the throned cynosure, whose reveille will call them from their sleep to heaven's reviewing, right, left, right. No shotted cannon, deadly arms, no trophy of a fallen foe, till God defines the worthiest conqueror, him who has vanquished death and conquered doubt, and faced 1,000 alarms, till life sits firmly on his brow, or echoes through the happy evermore, ye host of victors, shout, shout, shout. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Vincit Omnia Jus by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. With 1 foot on the rock of right already won, and 1 upon the rock of faith, no right can be undone. I stand prophetic voiced, that presently from these right peak by peak shall grandly rise in towering Pyrenees. The liberty we know and passionately love shall bless the vineyards far below that drink the snows above, and in the guardian frown of freedom's lofty height shall think 'tis God who cometh down to thunder for the right. As from the granite base where we must battle for, to firmly plant each secret cause, we rear the mountain o'er. The bolt of stormy skies shall burst above each peak, assuring us when man defies oppression, God doth speak. And if from some sheer crag a vanguard hero fall, the while the coward safely lags, who'd rather be a thrall, we'll set a cross upon the cliff from which he fell, and over it a victor's crown of freedom's immortelle. But better still we'll climb, inspired by his fate, to heights of liberty sublime, unreached by tyrants' hate, and right shall look at last from mountain top to land, in glad humanity more vast, in destiny more grand. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Flying Jack by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. The sky was blue, and smiling down upon a human sea, Old Glory fluttered, danced, and shone in vari-coloured glee. A merry breeze went laughing through the laughing folds of silk, until the red and white and blue were sylphs with teeth of milk. Yet not for them the rapturous eyes of shouting crowds were bright, who came to hail with praise and prize the hero winged for flight. The first to fly, the challenge read, shall win the wreath and cup. He spread his pinions, and o'erhead a dizzy height went up. Bravo, bravo, they shouted as he spiralled down and down, then surged towards him in a mass, and wreathed him with the crown. He smiled, and in his eyes of blue, and on his cheeks of red, a something noble came to view, as gallantly he said, "The cup I'll keep, the wreath I'll place where it by right belongs. The first to fly my hand shall grace, and you acclaim with tongues." So saying, towards his ship he stepped, and set the sails again, then in a rising circle swept, with sun-kissed face and plain. They wondered when they saw him rise toward the streamer's staff, until he grazed its middle thrice, and cleared it with a laugh. Until above its gilded ball he steadied, and from high the trophy flung before them all, with practised hand and eye. Upon Old Glory's head the wreath fell true, and with it fell the airman's words to those beneath, who needed but their spell. The first to fly above our land on wings that never lag, I crown with patriotic hand our country's starry flag. And then he doffed his cap, and lo, a Jackie's suit he wore, and circling still he cried, "Oh ho, I've flown in peace and war." I rubbed my eyes, and all was fled, except the silken folds of glory floating overhead, a sailor boy which holds. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Poems of Humor. Sap's A-bilin by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Out in the country where they tap the maple trees in spring, there's something doin' on the map when March is on the wing. The barrels and buckets overrun, the busy farmers smilin', the cracklin' fire helps the fun, for sap's a-bilin'. Out in the country where they all have lived 100 years, and heard the go-to meetin' call as Sunday storms or clears, thermometers a-risin' when for trouble folks are spilin', till someone pokes the kettle, then the sap's a-bilin'. Just hold a bit, don't let it burn, bein' too intense. The man who biles has first to learn a leetle common sense. It's sugar that we're bilin', mind, not human nature rilin', so jest go back to sweetness kind when sap's a-bilin'. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Just Mud by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Carrie Adams. Your book voice. What's this live stuff you call a boy, just in the plastic stage and fairly oozing with the joy of youth's unmolded age? What's this to fashion into form of early blade or bud, or fruit with life or color warm? Why say, just mud. What's summer's golden harvest yield that ripens into grain, the bloom of orchard, wood, or field, so riotous with gain? What's this come trooping with the grace of man and womanhood from out the muck of yesterdays? Why say, just mud. What's yonder statue borne aloft by noble edifice, which passers-by beholding oft forget immortal is, of living deed and living art, now clay, once flesh and blood, both growing from a humble start? Why say, just mud. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Knockin Round by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by April 6090. Funny how some men grow up, knockin' round, drinking out of fortune's cup, overwound with the ivy of Japan or a South American. Revolutionary plot, coming back no matter what, knockin' round. After seeing half the world, knockin' round, under every flag unfurled, safe and sound. Home again from climbin' Alps, raisin' Filipino scalps, fishin' in a Scottish tarn. You will find them at the barn, knockin' round. All the smiles of beauty's eyes, knockin' round, underneath Italian skies, or renowned. Aaron's native land of charms fade away as in his arms. Blushes just the same old girl, from whose locks he kept a curl, knockin' round. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Snail and Star by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by kaylawhy. A humble snail crawled from his shell one night to drink the dew and surfeit on young greens. How came he wise in nature when so slight a weakling of it passes wisdom's means? But, as he inched along, a winking star his locomotion mocked an oddity. How far, O pygmy gastropod, how far dost thou suppose it is from thee to me? And at the rate of travel thou dost creep, how long to bridge the distance would it take? Yet I cross its vastness nightly leap, while you a paltry rod of progress make. I may be slow, the snail vouchsafed reply, but then I'm no pretence, however you twit. Thou movest not at all except thy eye, and now as I perceive thy nimble wit. No doubt we both our mission magnify. You give the world the cheer of astral fire, while from a lowlier position I, a proverb for its ridicule inspire. A proverb which, while I'm the ancient butt, yet makes the human snail a byword too, and often moves him more of life to put in duty. Therefore, why so much ado? The star had no retort, so saved its face by prompt amends. My brother, you are right. We both are filling our appointed place to teach the world a lesson, so good night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Old Sor'l Hoss by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. The old Sor'l Hoss limps up the lane and whinners for his oats, but he will never work again, 'cept as the milk he totes to skimmin' station down the road, to sorta make believe he's haulin' an honest load, and earnin' his reprieve. Sure, that was paid for long ago, if 20 faithful years can make a critter's master return for what he clears, by plow and reaper, laden rack, and stumpin' a loggin' bee, yet gives the beast of burden back oft scanty humanity. For when the old Sor'l Hoss's joints grow stiff with work and age, there's many a man with musket pints his death and keeps his wage. But not this hoss with sorrel mane and coat, which every morn comes slippin' up the scrubby lane, and whinners for his corn. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Nicodemus Boggs by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Nicodemus Boggs was named by scripture-loving aunts, though never for that virtue famed was Demas, till by chance his mind was turned to churchly choice, and then one solemn night he heard an otherworldly voice, which put him in a fright, call, Nicodemus, Nicodemus, Nicodemus Boggs, although there were some folks blasphemous, who said 'twas only frogs. Be that however as it may, to Demas 'twas a sign, so forthwith he began to pray, and talk of things divine. Of course 'twas given him to know, without a studied mind. His tongue was loosened, and the flow of words left wit behind. Yet, strange to say, no church was moved his parish to become, though Demas said it only proved the church was deaf and dumb. For certainly the call was plain, as often half asleep he heard the self-same voice again, in solemn tones and deep, urge, Nicodemus, Nicodemus, Nicodemus Boggs, although there were some folk blasphemous, who said 'twas only frogs. Be that as each opined, 'tis sure with Demas soon it turned to ague, and the only cure for flesh which froze and burned, the doctor ordered was to drain the hollow in the rear where Demas lived. For while in vain he followed his career of human welfare, there had lain the most neglected near. 'Twas remedied, and there again did Nicodemus hear the voice which had become so famous for backdoor croaks and frogs, call, Nicodemus, Nicodemus, Nicodemus Boggs. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sacred Poems. What is Faith? By Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by The Intern 356. Sacred Poems. What is faith? Faith is no weakling, howsoe'er it needeth courage for its task, but strength whose confidence to dare is that which humbles it to ask a higher help, a higher word, to lift it, bid it trust and try, assured its selfless prayer is heard, its task beneath a master's eye. Faith is the reasoning of heart, toward the heart of hearts which beats, in unison with every part of all it quickens and completes,
and with a sense of love and plan, sees only good from truth and right, wrong as the only ill which can defeat design and quench the light. Faith is the fortifying gate, which walls us in, our terrors out, through which we fare to conquer fate, or flee for refuge from our doubt. Faith blows the trumpet, mans the tower, inspires hope, believes in heaven, and trusts the overruling power to care for what its will hath given. Faith is the burden-bearer's stay, the footsore pilgrim's trusty staff, the victor's martial panoply, the martyr's noblest epitaph. Faith is the vision's inner eye, whose pupil is the seeing soul, its iris the reflected sky, its long perspective spirit's goal. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Forgiveness by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by The Intern 356. A Forgiveness. A pilgrim long devout arrived at last before the gate of paradise and cast his staff aside triumphantly to press within the dreamed-of goal. But strange to say, it did not open to his eagerness, as knocking he solicited the way. "Nay," said the guardian angel of the gate, "the proof of thy assurance I await, the sesame and heavenliest word that passes here. 3 trials shalt thou have, and if thou hast not found it by the 3rd, no privilege to enter canst thou crave." So sure the pilgrim was the truest right must be the one of evangelic might, he quickly answered, "Love." The angel's wing drooped o'er his countenance as he replied, "Nay, such a plea might any sinner bring, like any saint whose zeal is undenied. Canst thou not to the name come closer yet, of goodness' greatest key?" The pilgrim let his thoughts go outward in a second quest, and slowly made response. "Why, then, 'tis grace, the covenant and seal of all the rest, the chain whose lock is love." The angel's face was still compassionate as he withheld the entrance, and his pity would have spelled the password in his eyes as he again made answer. "Grace is truly all our hope and promise and fulfillment, but 'tis when we lay it to our hearts, the gate we ope, and our admission most divinely plead. For none can think the word but feels its need and healing touch." The pilgrim's brow grew sad, but as he pondered to his knees he fell, and rose as oft before in wonder glad. "Forgiveness!" The angel answered, "Well," and stood aside to let him pass. End of A Forgiveness. This recording is in the public domain. The Good Samaritan by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by The Intern 356. The Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan was he who had compassion not alone, humanely but divinely. We must look beyond the healer, see the sympathizing Savior, be forgiven, lifted up, and shown the heart of love in our own, begin to feel the sympathy which from his humanness had grown to deeds of such divinity. How little 'tis to minister to one poor soul unless we feel the touching brotherhood of care, the sense how easy 'tis to err, to fall, to need another's prayer, another's help. But when we kneel, our fellow feeling must be real, enough that we can rise and share the burden of our own appeal, and help our brother's cross to bear. He is the Good Samaritan, who loves enough to never wrong, to ever right a brother man, to bind his wounds and shape the plan of life benignly, so he can his neighbor also cheer along. Blessed be the mercifully strong, blessed be the human-hearted man who never quenched a living song, for he is God's Samaritan. End of The Good Samaritan. This recording is in the public domain.
Shepherd of Israel by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. Shepherd of Israel, hear the calling of thy flock, and when we seek, do thou be near to lead us to the rock, where full and sheltered we at noonday may repose, or find at night security from all our lurking foes. Help us to trust thy care through green or barren ways, and voice our doubts and fears in prayer, our blessedness in praise. If thorns beset our path, to feel thou leadest us, in sweet assurance goodness hath a loving purpose thus. Guide us by living streams that rise in mountain height, and up where wisdom's heavenly beams our spirits bathe in light. Lead us to ranges high, to visions rich and broad, to pinnacles that touch the sky, and help us know thee, God. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Ladder of Cloud by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Carrie Adams, your book voice. There's a beautiful ladder of fine-spun cloud that stretches from earth to sky, and up and down at the angels crowd with calling and soft reply. Amrael, children of men who only by sight know that the stars exist, there was one that shone o'er the world last night through an aureole of mist. Mishael, they only saw it who had kept the vigil of the seers with inner sense, but ye who slept knew not the sign of the years. Uriel, the spirit of life became a star, and we the herald host, and we sang as the wise men gazed afar, and the shepherds heavenmost. Host, joy to the world, for lo is born the gift-child. Echo on, and on forever, song of morn, yet trembling into dawn. Refrain, joy to the pure in heart, for thou alone dost know the worth and meaning of the gift who bow before the virgin birth. Chorus, all hail Madonna's gift that shall the earth to heaven uplift. All hail, rejoice. What softening of angel voice, and light and listening sense, fell hush-like on the last rejoice, Madonna, reverence. The pearly wings, the host enshroud, the voices fade away, and the beautiful ladder of fine-spun cloud becomes the gate of the day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Risen Christ Means Victory by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Go forth and hail the conqueror with flowers and sacred psalms. The triumph we observe is more than that of martial palms. For lo, there cometh from the tomb the Lord of life and life to be, around whose feet the lilies bloom. The risen Christ means victory. Go forth and on his living brow entwine a laurel wreath, for never was so great as now the glory of his death. The cross and sepulchre had been the world's most damning tragedy, but for the conquered curse of sin, the risen Christ means victory. Go forth with precious ointment of affection to thy dead, with Easter's glad, believing love, that he who for us bled, who slept and rose again, is strong to roll corruption's stone away, and loose the resurrection song. The risen Christ means victory. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Everlasting Arms by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. When to our life dark shadows come, stern crosses, sacrificial cares, and other fancied temporal harms, there is eternal refuge from our terrifying doubts and fears within the everlasting arms. When o'er our souls temptations sweep, and goodness loses half its grace, as sin pursues us with its charms, there is no refuge left to keep but the eternal hiding place within the everlasting arms. When through the valley dark and drear we walk or see another sink, and death o'ercomes us with alarms, be then, eternal refuge, near to hold us up upon the brink within the everlasting arms. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
He Giveth His Beloved Sleep by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Kay Burke. He giveth his beloved sleep. The task is done, the sun is set, the evening shadows fall apace. The course is run, and tarries yet the glory only of the race. But ere the guerdon of the toil the fleeting soul shall rise to reap, God maketh it to rest awhile, He giveth His beloved sleep. What though the eyes are closed in death, the tired hands are folded now? Life shall arise, saith living faith, and ministry diviner grow. 'Tis but the hush before the day, the Father bids His angels keep the treasure that we lay away. He giveth His beloved sleep. But not, oh not forever thus, doth death enshroud our silent ones. We know not what transfigures us, what miracle of quickening suns. But we await their healing wings, their living flash, seraphic sweep, the glory of the King of Kings, who giveth His beloved sleep. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Glory Dwells by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Carrie Adams, your book voice. Oh, the glory that we dream of, trembling over Bethlehem, Magi following the beam of starry prophecy to them, shepherds startled by the gleam of heavenly light and angel hymn. Time hath made the vision holy, but I know that glory dwells not in manger village solely, nor in dream that prophet tells, but wherever there's a lowly child heart, there the glory swells. Pride of earth and pomp of power dazzle with their tinsel show, but compared to goodness dower, they're as only glint to glow. Pride is merely for an hour, goodness doth to glory grow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Light of Life by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. O light of life, shine thou into my soul, as doth the sun of day into the world foreseeing with mine eyes. Reveal the good and evil. Teach me how to stumble not, but walk the living way that fills earth with the glory of the skies. Let there be spirit quickenings that thrill the being to responsiveness, lest vision be but human, uninspired. Ah, make it throb until from vision springs anointed nature to in life express the grace which makes the heavenly desired. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Design by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Carrie Adams, your book voice. The universe of rolling spheres is not for deities' display, but for a purpose which appears in its supernal harmony, its mass that in momentum sweeps, its energy of elements, the order which its system keeps, are aspects of omnipotence. And power working such design is proof of presence everywhere, intelligent, supreme, divine, both in creatorship and care. For in his watch care of the worlds, he over all doth manifest a greater power than that which whirls them on their way at its behest, a greater purpose than to span the heavens by his glory lit, for 'tis the more eternal plan of making all creation fit for fellowship with nature's God, in higher terms of wisdom, truth, and love by perfect will endowed, whereof the worlds are but the proof. Thou super soul, who spirit art, and rulest star host, wave, and wind, teachest thy majesty to heart, and feel in music perfect mind. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Song Poems Golden Hoop by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Lakshmi. There is nothing in the world so sweet as the hope which never, never dies, that sometime, somewhere we shall meet in gladder love beyond the skies. Oh, beyond the skies so golden, with the hope of heaven olden. For there is nothing in all the world so sweet as the olden, golden hope again to meet. There is nothing in all the world so fleet as the hope that ever, ever flies, swift onward, upward to the seat of perfect love beyond the skies. Oh, beyond the skies so glowing, with the hope of heaven growing. For there is nothing in all the world so sweet as the glowing, growing hope again to meet. There is nothing in all the world so great as hope that bids us, helps us rise, with more responsive hands and feet, with gladder tongues and clearer eyes. Oh, upon the sky so golden, with the hope of heaven olden. For there is nothing in all the world so sweet as the olden, golden hope again to meet. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Coming Crowning by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Carrie Adams, your book voice. When the chariots of glory come flashing from the east, on the day of Advent story, the crowning of the Christ, when the clouds are seraph mounted and radiant of wing, with angel hosts uncounted, and the skies with rapture ring. My soul, wilt thou, undaunted, meet the coming of the King? When the earth the blessed vision with lifted eyes beholds, and feels the swift transition of glory that enfolds. When from the skies descending the hosts of heaven bring the kingdom never ending, of which all people sing. O Spirit, wilt thou blending hail the coming of the King? When thrones are set for mercy and love to minister to the naked, sick, and thirsty, and all who faint or err. When the Lord of glory reigneth, and choired censers swing, with the praises God ordaineth, as heavens their banners fling. O soul, a crown that gaineth, crown and enthrone the King. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Living Cup by Walter Seymour Percy, read for LibriVox.org by kaylawhy. Gather all the beauty and the riches of the world, the flowers blush and lovers flush, the hoards of gold and pearl. But you'll never have enough to sum the wealth and treasure up, like the blessing of the drinking from the living water's cup. Gather all the music and the fountain springs of love, the heart's desire, censer's fire, and starry host above. But you'll never have enough to sum the soul of gladness up, like the blessing of the drinking from the living water's cup. Gather all the glories and the triumphs of all time, of temples' pride and kingdoms wide, and grace and art sublime. But you'll never have enough to sum the joy of heaven up, like the blessing of the drinking from the living water's cup. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Singers by Walter Seymour Percy, read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Oh, the song of the soul we have sought for forever, in ages gone by and the ages to come. But what of the voices whose noblest endeavour must lift it as high as the height it is from? For the song must mount up on the wings of the spirit, and out of the heart that kindles with love, before all the world will listen to hear it, before the world's sense it trembles above. Oh, the song of the soul we have sought for wherever there's beauty or sunshine, glory or joy. But what of the voices whose praises must gather the echoes that melt with the lips they employ? For the notes must spring up from the souls they awaken, and out of the hearts they kindle with love, before all the world by their sweetness is shaken, before the world's life they triumph above. Oh, the song of the soul we have sought for as treasure, wherever are kingdoms, jewels, or gold. But what of the voices whose heavenly measure the wealth of the world's richest treasure must hold? For the song must be born from the world's greatest passion, and out of a heart that was kindled by love, before all the world its power can fashion to glory like that of the Master above. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Crown of Thorns by Walter Seymour Percy, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. O crown of thorns upon the brow of him they nailed on Calvary, the serpent's coil and sting wert thou, the seal of sin and agony. Chorus. For where the grief and thought of us the Saviour's brow had borne, they put the mockery of the cross, the crown of thorn, the crown of thorn. O crown of thorns, whose suffering the Saviour for the world endured, 'twas thus he healed the serpent's sting, the evil mind of nature cured. Chorus. For where the grief and thought of us the Saviour's brow had borne, they put the sorrow of the cross, the crown of thorn, the crown of thorn. O crown of thorns, whose wounds became redeeming scars of victory, the glory where once was the shame, the diadem of heaven be. Chorus. For where the grief and thought of us the Saviour's brow had borne, they put the triumph of the cross, the crown of thorn, the crown of thorn. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Song Along by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by April 6090. I sang an old song as I worked one day. What cared I who smiled? What cared I who frowned? So long as my song made the task seem play. What cared I how many were pleasure bound? I heeded them not unless they as well were singing a song that work glad fell. And then we together went singing along. I courted my love when dreamers were we. What cared I who laughed? What cared I who sighed? So long as my love was the world to me. What cared I for others, the whole world wide? I heeded them not unless they as well were dreaming upon the same lover's spell. And then we together went dreaming along. So I worked with a love song for my cheer. What cared I who hated both labor and joy? So long as my loved ones to me were dear. What cared I how others made loving alloy? I heeded them not unless they as well were part of the song which cherubs swell. And then we together went singing along. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ecce Homo by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Upon the cross I see him nailed, the man of Nazareth. His brow is pierced, his visage paled with sufferings of death. Around him gather those who hate, and those who love him most, to watch his sin-appointed fate, with grief or ruthless boast. And as his pleading face I scan, all history cries, Behold the man! His wounded hands and feet I see, the fountain from his side. O Calvary, behold the crucified! Yet not the cruel thorns are worst, nor blood of anguish spilt, but that the sinless one is cursed for all the race's guilt. And as his pleading face I scan, all history cries, Behold the man! Yet as I on his visage marred with guilt and sorrow gaze, it changes from the beauty scarred to time's most wondrous face. A glory as of heaven breaks upon the crown of thorn, and every tortured feature takes a love by passion born. For as his pleading face I scan, all history cries, Behold the man! End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Love That Washed His Feet by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. She came as at supper the Lord reclined. She came with purpose sweet, not of the host's or servant's kind, withheld from him at meat. For she came to wash his feet. She watered them with tears of grief. She wiped them with her hair. She kissed them till she found relief and words of pardon there, as she knelt to wash his feet. She loved the most because she knew forgiveness so great. She loved, and nothing else could do to prove her love complete, but to wash her Saviour's feet. No goodly laver did she own, no costly perfume bring, but hers was the truest service shown, whose faith the world will sing as the love which washed his feet. O sinner, the Saviour's presence still beside compassion's seat, to pardon whosoever will the woman's trust repeat, and kiss the Saviour's feet. Let contrite tears be mercy's plea, and love its passion press upon the feet of ministry, that came to save and bless the hands which clasp his feet. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Shut and Open Hand by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Lawley. The Shut and Open Hand. The Fist. I shut my eyes and opened them, and while they were shut I saw all the dread things that could happen to men in the name of cause and law. I saw the tortured toil and travail as the cost of bread and birth. I saw the skein of fate unravel around the hapless earth. 1,000,000 who had nobly striven go down to grim defeat. 1,000,000 who their heart blood given spurned from proud honor's seat. Hope mocked and dear ideals shattered, truth crushed and crucified, the fruits of love and labor shattered, and greed or goodness ride. Cursed like a ghoul, despair and sorrow leave at the race's door, pledging tomorrow and tomorrow, cursing the world still more. And as men were broken and stricken, I saw the darkness loom to a frown of hate and slowly thicken to a spectral shape of doom. Shadows, thunders, griefs and grossness gathered in a blacker mass. Life's calamities and crosses wrapped the midnight of all space. Into God, what awful likeness of a giant arm and wrist, bulking blacker still to smite us as a clenched terrific fist. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Man-Bird by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. The man-bird harnessed on his wings, empowered the impatient heart, and mounted into space as springs some captive eagle when released from durance. But though human art might imitate, its genius ceased too short to force one secret of the wild, fierce mastery of flight in spiral sweeps away above the dizziest pinnacle of sight. Man could but follow as he dared, with plane and engine, chance and nerve, yet like a Jove who boldly fared across the firmament supreme, o'er vortexes with plunge and swerve, o'er air abysses where the scream of harpies echoed mocking forth on ears too tense, yet ever on o'er blinding south and blasting north, triumphant up or headlong down. 10,000 feet on high, ye gods, man tries conclusions for your realm, and gambles life at daring odds, to ride above the storm-strewn fleece. A modern Jason at the helm, by siren lured like him of Greece, to desperate hazard, yet to fail one pulse-beat for a thrilling glance. Ah, well, the boldest might turn pale, and choose 'twixt glory and mischance. A moment poised the avian, then earthward swooped as never Jove rode down the vault of Superman. Wind surges roared and clouds fled by. Death raced beside the demon strove to wrench one slender part or ply. But flawless sinewed man and steed came flashing, wheeling down and down with thrice a Roman's courser's speed, to earth and conqueror's renown. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Phantom Cavalry by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. What knows the world of battles? History writes the deeds of men with blood, and triumph hails as trophy of their valour, armaments or better fortune, thinking he who fights with surer odds or tactics seldom fails in the last holocaust of war's event. Impassioned eyes see not the shadow shapes that hover on the flank of charging hosts, ready to launch themselves as chance array. Not one of all the mustered lines escapes, when mockery's phantom century the boasts of martial pride down trample and dismay. Ah, Waterloo, where scarred battalions strove and overwhelmed each other, blood imbrued, hurling their troops with savage impotence. The conquering cavalry which o'er thee drove was not the one the Corsican reviewed, nor yet the Iron Duke with grimmer sense. Ah, Gettysburg, whose murderous brigades met in the shambles of a horror hell, or rushed like demons in the jaws of death. Thy most resistless riders were the shades of other erstwhile terribles who fell, drawing the sword from its envenomed sheath. In vain each other's throats the blue and grey sprang at like wolves of winter mad for flesh, and yet unsated till the kill thus leaped in exultation's shout of victory. Not all thy columns, veteran or fresh, could save the field by grisly corpses heaped. Against the spectral squadron which outrode both Fighting Phil and Morgan's men alike, as on the battle's flank it weirdly hung, or where the dragon's teeth of hate were sowed, sprang up as headless horsemen armed to strike, and crumple back the charge by fury flung. They loomed like apparitions terror-born, yet ghastly real and dreadly sinister, abreast of every vanguard and redoubt, or trench and belching gun they swept in scorn, or carried panic to the broken rear, till all was carnage, cowardice, and rout. Invincible formations, onset surge of vengeance boldest fiends, manoeuvres dire with compassing destruction, all before the gruesome legionaries' mounted charge were swept like chaff by maelstrom, wind, and fire, and rose again in prowess nevermore. But on the ghost troop galloped as of old, in every bloody battle, never dead, and never yet defeated, phantoms still, that gallop o'er the mortal mould of every tragic battlefield once red with madmen's lifeblood at their country's will. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Thou Callest Me Brother by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox by Noel Cooper. Thou callest me thy human brother. Well, am I less flesh and spirit than thyself? Or less entitled so to humbly dwell in honest peace and plenty, that to delve is equally as noble as to draw from the rich depths digged up? Or is the law of brotherhood pretense? Our separate lots but differ as our make, not as our meed. Do brothers share according to their thoughts, or in the rough according to their need? If thou dost think thee finer in the end than him thou flatterest, thou art no friend. Thou callest me thy brother, and dost praise my struggle to get even, holding fast thyself the odds of vantage. So the race is to the swift and strong, and he is last whose toiling body forged the chariot wheel that rolls thee on to fortune. It were base to make the difference one of feast and fast, of full and empty measure of our weal. For I am he who's spent, the spender thou, yet thou dost call me brother? Heaven, how? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Singing Death by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Men whisper low of spectres, Calibans, and curses almost devilish with doom. Mysterious fiends like hellhounds, werewolves, ghouls, and other nameless shapes as jinns and jans that spring from demon haunts and skulk or loom to terror-stricken fancy of weak souls. But none have named the scourge of singing death, the dread reality which out of hell comes forth as often as the bloodlust burns. Foulness and fury vulcanize its breath, as, ravening for flesh insatiate, fell it swoops, devours and bloodier returns. An army gathers flush with high resolve, and there is martial music and display of glory ominous with human fate. For ere the dial shall again revolve, the singing death exultantly will prey upon the host till horror outdoes hate. A floating citadel superbly steers her ocean course, with victory flags unfurled, alike to sea and foe invincible. Yet somewhere from the blue she careers, the singing death, by Titan forces hurled, will scream above her decks with damning knell. Hark! Hear you it, like vomit from the throat of Hades, hurtling through the sulphurous air, with cross between the moan of Mane's wraith, the torture of Inferno, and the note of vulture-torn Prometheus's despair. Ah, 'tis the cannon missile's singing death. It plays no diapason as the roar it leaves behind where thunders loud in tone, nor as the mighty swell of organ reeds, but all the stops of battle rising o'er, it shrieks its way to finish with the groan of mortal agony where valor bleeds. It sings not as a master for applause, with perfect voiced and chested range of gift, till song becomes the triumph of all time, but rather 'tis a dirge, which discord flaws with time's infernal arts, lest God uplift the world by love to peace's choir sublime. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Old Moon in the Arms of the New by Walter Seymour Percy. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. The young moon rises low, just where the passing earth has stood aside to help it grow, once it has come to birth. Yet on the old moon's back the image of the new, reflected is with lustre lack, from earth it kindled to. In gleaming arms of youth the sire is embraced. The silver edge of ancient truth and younger truth is traced. The clasp of morning love embosoms that of Eve, and memories in the crescent of old age's child reprieve. A sickly sickle frames the lusty one that reaps, so power, pleasure, fortune, fame's pale as the keener sweeps. Our latest wish enfolds the hope that's almost spent, and every rim of promise holds the past to future bent. But not so feebly say youth hastens on the heels of age, but that 'tis nature's way, our myriad orb reveals. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of Muse and Mint by Walter Seymour Percy.